that is, substantially wealthy. This was no doubt because in the early 30s BCE, he became attached to the circle of writers around Augustus's important advisor, Maecenas, introduced by no less than his fellow poet Virgil. At some point in the 30s, he received from Maecenas the gift of a substantial Sabine estate in a beautiful and peaceful valley location about 30 miles from the center of Rome, which contains several subordinate farms as well as a villa. The remains of this villa may well be under the later grand building close to Licenza near the modern Tivoli, which has been much investigated in recent years. In Epistles, Book 1, Epistle 7, Horace expresses warm gratitude for Maecenas' generosity in enabling him to pursue a leisured country existence away from the pressures of city life. Horace's personal relations with Augustus, the first Roman emperor, or princeps proper, who wielded effective supreme power from 31 BCE, seems to have been close, and perhaps became closer after 19 BCE when the all-powerful leader, who had been absent for much of the 20s, was generally in Rome. There seems no real reason to doubt the apparent documentary evidence of their intimacy in the Suetonian biography, which cites passages from humorous letters between the two. The presence of the princeps in Rome as an active patron perhaps explains why Maecenas receives only one warm mention in Horace's latest phase of work after 19, whereas all his previous poetic books in the 30s and 20s had begun with fulsome dedications to Maecenas himself. Horace was certainly commissioned to write the extant Carmen Saeculate, or secular hymn, a poem of 80 lyric lines for choric performance for the Ludi Saeculates of 17 BCE, celebrating the beginning of a new saeculum, or ritual period of 110 years, very likely by Augustus himself. There is no particular reason to disbelieve the Suetonian biography that Horace died less than 2 months after Maecenas in 8 BCE, temptingly close though this would be to the affectionate assertions in the poetry that the poet would not wish to outlive his patron. Horace's literary career lasted some 3 decades. The chronology and sequence of his works is largely agreed. Satires Book 1 belongs to around 36 to 35 BCE, Satires Book 2 and Epodes to around 30 to 29 BCE, Odes Books 1 through 3 to 23 BCE, with possible earlier separate publication, Epistles Book 1 to 20 to 19 BCE, the Carmen Saeculate to 17 BCE, and Odes Book 4 to circa 13 BCE. Only the dates of Epistles Book 2 and the Ars Poetica have been a matter of debate. For me, these are the poet's latest works, belonging to the period 12 through 8 BCE. The 3 earliest books of Horatian poetry begin from self-consciously low literary predecessors. Satires Books 1 and 2 pick up the hexameter Sermo of Lucilius, the humble and parodic cousin of the grand hexameter epic. Their moralizing program is described by the poet himself as ridentem dicere verum, to utter the truth with laughter. The Epodes take on the rumbustious world of archaic Greek iambus, poetry of crude aggression and comradeship, and shows some political engagement with the cause of the future Augustus in the last stages of the civil wars. The collection of Odes Books 1 through 3 is self-consciously more elevated. These 88 poems show a dexterous employment of the Aeolic lyric meters of great Greek poets such as Alcaeus and Sappho, more complex than those of his previous books. They also range broadly in topic and tone from light love poems and sympathic celebrations to deep moral meditations on the Roman state, and in length from 8 to 80 lines. A key feature is their considerable capacity to interact with the whole range of other literary kinds, epic, drama, elegy, epigram, and their memorable and lapidary modes of expression, such as carpe diem, pluck the fruit of the day, or auream mediocritatem, the golden middle position. The first book of epistles, returning to the more informal hexameters of the poet's satires, presents a conscious contrast with the first collection of odes.